Greetings, my womb warriors. How are you doing in this moment whenever you're watching this video? So, this is my altar. I want to talk to you about altars, the importance of altar work when it comes to doing womb healing. We are here because we are healing our fibroids. Our fibroids are in our wombs, and our wombs are everything of who it represents, every aspect of who we are. As I've shared before, the uterus is not just, or the womb is not just the uterus, but the womb is your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual body. And when it comes to self care, making an altar is a form of self care. Because self care is anything that you do to put time aside to nurture your emotional self, your mental self, your physical self, and your spiritual self. So the altar is all about the spiritual aspect of who we are. And an altar is a space that you put aside to put all of your sacred items on. It could be your religious relics. It could be an altar dedicated to your ancestors. If you're trying to manifest money, if you're trying to manifest a job, then you'll have every single thing, every single color, every single object is intentionally put on that space that represents whatever it is that you want to focus on. So here is an example of a womb altar. Okay. Now there are various ways that you can make altars. Various traditions have different ways, like different formats of how to make an altar. Like for an example, for the longest time, the way that I would do my altar, I would set my items on it based on the four directions. Okay, it's like north, east, south, west. And then I would have, with each direction represents a particular element. So north is earth. So you would have like a rock or a stone or a plant there. East is wind or air. So you would have a feather or an incense. And then south is fire. So that's where you would have your candle. And then west is water. So that's where you would have your water bowl. That's just an example. So this altar, this particular structure, is what I learned as a sacred woman with Queen Afua. So I'm following that guideline. And what else do I want to say about that? There was something I wanted to say about that. So this is the guideline that I'm using from Queen Afua, okay, from the sacred woman. That's what I wanted to say. And so this particular setup and tradition is rooted in ancient Kemet or ancient African spirituality. So I have my Aunt here, and Newt, and I'll go into that in a moment. Newt and Bess, these are two Kemetic principles, okay? And there's a reason why they are here on my altar to help heal my fibroids, and I'll go into that in a moment. So again, when it comes to your altar, you want every single thing to be intentional, okay? So I start off underneath this cloth, I have white, okay, because white represents purity. I'm here to come to purify my womb, to purify my emotions, my mental state, my physical state, okay? So that's the undertonement. That's what's holding this entire intention together, is to purify myself so that I could be a better person. I could, just live the life that I was created to live through releasing all these toxicities, okay? Now blue, the reason why I've chosen blue, because blue represents Newt, and this is Newt here. Now, Newt is the Kemetic principle of she's the first mother, the mother of all mothers. And as you see here, the way that it looks like she's doing like a downward facing dog, but this is the stars. So it's her kind of like hovering over the entire world, protecting us like the mother. So all the mothers come from Newt. She is the very, very first mother that birthed all of us. So the womb, the mother is the womb, right? It's when we are pregnant with our child, we become mothers. So since she is the mother of all mothers, I have Newt here supporting me on my journey as I'm healing my fibroids, okay? And so blue also correlates to Newt because she's the mother sky as well. So that's why I have this color here. So Newt is in full effect, really strong presence on my altar as she is helping me to heal my fibroids. Now, I want to just say this, just for clarification, that when it comes to various principles, they're all an aspect of the creator. This is the truth that I subscribe to, okay? I just want to clear this up, because this is the truth that I subscribe to. When it comes to various principles, and again, I'm working with the Kemetic principle, whether it's Ma'at or Newt or Bess, they're not here because I'm worshiping them. I'm not worshiping these items at all. These principles represent an aspect of the great creator. When I pray, I address God as the creator because that's what resonates with me. When I think about the moon and the mountains and the ocean and the stars and the trees and the birds and the insects and my body, human bodies, the bones, the organs, the blood, the nervous system, man did not create that. Something way beyond us did. So I address that source as the creator. That's just what resonates with me. I don't really consider myself religious. I feel like that's just something completely different. But again, I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to explain what I subscribe to. Okay, I'm spiritual. I have a spiritual practice more so than a religious practice. So Newt, Bess, these are principles that represents the creator because the creator is so vast. As humans, we oftentimes have to kind of compartmentalize. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right, in order to fully understand the creator. Okay, so it's like we have the human body, but we have the liver, we have the stomach, we have the intestines, we have the heart, we have the brain. They're all different aspects of the body, but they're all a part of the body. That's just the best way that I can describe it, okay? So a little digression there. So it's all related. So bringing it back in. So blue represents Newt. It represents Newt, the first mother of creation, the womb. This is like the ancient womb, okay? So that is the color that I have here. And then I have, I'll just start from the front and work my way to the back. So this represents Ma'at. She's another Kemetic principle. Ma'at is the principle of justice and law and balance. And so the mythology with Ma'at is whenever one would die while they're in between worlds, she would have a scale. And on one scale would be your heart. The other scale would be the feather. And if your heart weighed as light as a feather, you were able to ascend to the next dimension. So the feather is a representation to keep our hearts light as a feather. So that's also part of womb work, to release all those heavy emotions, all those heavy thoughts, and to always bring it back to trying to keep yourself as light as possible, always in a state of love, a state of grace, a state of gratitude, a state of compassion. It's work. It's not easy. I mean, sometimes I got my feather and I'm just like, ooh, Lord, that person tick me off, or like sometimes I even put on my mouth when I want to cuss somebody out, So these feathers, the Ma'at feather is a really awesome ally, healing tool to have to remind you to keep your spirit light. Okay, so that is my Ma'at feather. I have her here, and then I have the Ankh again. You can create your altar however you like. This was just my altar. The Ankh is a Kemetic symbol of balance that represents the masculine, feminine. It actually represents the family because we have the masculine, we have the feminine, and then this is the womb. It's another way to represent the womb. So it represents the family. I'm trying to manifest my family. I have my man, I'm a husband, and part of my womb healing is to have a child. And so that's one intention of why I have the Ankh. But I also have the Ankh to represent balance within myself. If you want to break it down to a physiological perspective, part of having estrogen or part of having fibroids is an excess amount of estrogen. So I want to create that balance. I want to decrease that amount of estrogen so I can have balance in my womb and to be able to eradicate these fibroids. But it's also just having balance in life. When it comes to masculine and feminine, it's not just about male and female, but it's about different psychology, different attributes. So like when you think about being about the masculine, it's really aggressive. It's moving. It's movement. Where feminine, it's more soft. It's more containing. It's more contemplative. So it's representing all those different yin and yang. That's another example of balance. So that's what the Ankh represents here for me. Okay. And then here, when it comes to an altar, it's always great, no matter what type of altar you have, to have some type of an organic item there, whether it's a plant. Here I chose to have flowers. I normally do plants, but I decided to switch it up and do flowers because I can switch it out every week. And with the plant, you want to make sure that you water it. So it's something that's living, that you have to feed and tend to, because it kind of brings the entire altar to life. So here I have these flowers here. I don't know what they're called. I just got them from my farmer's market, and I really like the color of them. Okay, so those that's my plant. And then I have affirmations kind of spread out. So this came up for me when I was doing my prayers and meditation this morning. And it's, I don't know if you can see it. I am open-minded to the unfolding of my life. So this just came up while I was doing my meditation this morning, specifically about healing my relationships with my brothers. I know I keep saying that. It's part of my story. Just got some deep issues with my brothers. And so it's like, okay, well, if I start to think about how I want it to look, then that creates anxiety, and that also creates resistance and stubbornness. But instead, I need to just start within myself. And as I'm healing and I'm forgiving, I'm just allowing myself to be open-minded to however that outcome will be. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And that's where the trust comes in. And you can relax in that and allow Creator to guide you. Because whenever you allow the Creator, or allow your life to unfold the way that it was supposed to, when you trust and let go, your mind is blown away, because then your life begins to unfold in ways that you can never imagine. So that's what this affirmation represents. So I have this here, and I'll change it up, like when I feel like I'm ready to move on to something else, then I'll write something else down. Or I even have these affirmation cards. I haven't started working with them yet, but these are really beautiful cards to have. Like for an example, my life works beautifully. That's an example of an affirmation. My healing is already in progress, is what this says. So eventually I'll start, pulling one of these cards and have it on my altar. But for now, this is just where I'm at right now. This is where I want to be by writing my own. Okay, so I have that there. Okay, what else do I have on my altar? I have gigantic stones, amethyst. Amethyst is my homie. I've been working with amethyst for a while. So amethyst, one of the main attributes of amethyst is it stimulates the third eye, the sixth chakra, for intuition. So it just keeps you intuitive. It keeps you connected to spirit. So I have 2 big pieces like this on my altar. This is I was so excited when this is like the first time that I actually bought a large piece of a gem, or like a quartz crystal. So that was really fun to do. And I can definitely feel the difference when you have larger pieces on your altar as opposed to the smaller ones. So this is a quartz crystal. Okay, there we go. So quartz crystals are just great crystals to have around. As far as if you don't know what stone to get when you're in a gem store and trying to choose a stone, get a quartz. You can't go wrong, because quartz they neutralize, they cleanse energy, they hold energy. So it's really good to have them around. If you're having some chaos in your house, then you can get like little small ones like this. You can get them as small as this, and it's still just as effective. And you can put them in every single corner in your house, or a particular room that you want to work with, and it helps to purify the space. Or just keep it in your pocket. If you just need some clarity, you're just unsure about what decisions to make, or you're just feeling chaotic, quartz crystals, it's universal. Quartz crystals is kind of like the Swiss knife of all stones. Okay, so I have that here. Put that here. And I also have moonstones. Moonstones are stones that helps with the uterus. So if you're healing your fibroids, moonstones are your allies. These were gifted to me, and I find them interesting because you can't really see, but one is more like oval, and the other one is more round. So the way that I interpret these gifts, and this is the only thing they gave me this for my birthday about 3-4 years ago, and to me, one represents the masculine and feminine. So, when it comes to intention, you got to be creative, just don't be logical about it. It can be anything that you want. So I have these here right in front of my photograph, and I'll get to that in a moment. And then here I have, I don't know if you can see this, but this is, I'll just take this off. This is a belly chain that I made. Oh, don't want this to collapse. So this is a belly chain that I made a few years ago. And so here I have the moonstone again, and carnelian stone is another ally to have when it comes to womb health. Because for one, like I mentioned with the moonstone, that helps with the uterus. And with the carnelian stone, the color is orange. And when we break down the chakra points, points along the body, the second chakra is called the Hara chakra. And that color is orange. Each chakra has a particular color correlated to it. And so, so that's another attribute to look at when it comes to carnelian stone is the color, because it represents the Hara chakra, which is also the womb. And it's also a stone that, the carnelian stone is also a stone that uplifts. It's like citrus aromas. Anything that's citrus and orange, it makes you feel positive. It uplifts the soul. Okay, so that's another good ally to have around. All right, and then my picture, since I have it here in my face, or my hand. So with the Sacred Women altar, it is recommended that you choose a picture of yourself when you felt your best, when you felt your most vibrant. And I took this picture during my rites of passage. I was like midway through it. I was like vegan, and I was getting up in the morning and doing my altar work, and I just felt amazing. So I captured this picture. I was just kind of like playing around with makeup, just, you know, being creative. And so this has been my main picture for about a year now here on my altar. And eventually I'll switch it up and get another picture. Okay, so, and then I have a photograph of my beloved grandmother. This is my granny. Isn't she beautiful? My granny is still slaying here on this planet. She is in her 80s. I forget, she's like 83, but she's still working as a caretaker. She's funny as heck. She's from Texas. She lives in Oceanside, but she's from Texas. And when you have a conversation, if you have a conversation with her more than 30 minutes, at some point she's going to talk about using a gun. Not to harm anybody, but she's just, you know, she's from Texas. You know, she's a cowgirl. My grandmother is amazing. So part of this Sacred Woman altar is to have representations of your ancestors. And I don't have Queen Afua on here to represent womb healing, because you want to have like a female or someone that represents a particular thing that you're working on. So since it's womb, I would have Queen Afua or like Mama Synovia, who's another, she does womb yoga, some kind of an elder that inspires me when it comes to womb health. But I have a picture of Queen Afua somewhere, but I haven't put it up there yet. But I have a picture of my grandmother because she represents my inner strength. This is who I come from, you know. I am because of my granny. So that's why I have her here on my altar representing. All right. And then I have on this side, this is my Aunt Blanche. She passed away. So you want to have an ancestor on your altar who has passed away, because our ancestors, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. So you always want to make sure that you're feeding them, remembering them in some way, because they're supporting us on the other side. You know, again, this is a truth that I subscribe to. So I have my Aunt Blanche on here. I knew her a little bit. I got a chance to get to know her a little bit before she passed away. Beautiful, lively. She had a beautiful home. And I've heard a lot of really fun stories about her from my mom. She was one of my mom's favorite aunts. Look how gorgeous she is. She's a really strong woman. Yeah, so I have my Aunt Blanche here, and I believe it was my Aunt Blanche was the reason why that my mom and grandmother migrated to San Diego from Texas. So I have her on here. And I have yet to get some other pictures of like my big mama, like my dad's mother. She passed away. I have my cousin Zanola. There's so many other ancestors. But what I do, when I'm doing my altar work, I always call their names out. That's one of the things I do, and I'll get to that later on. I'll share like my actual process in my altar work. But for now, I just want to share with you how I have everything set up. So one way that you can honor your ancestors is to say their name, say my name, right? When you say their name, you're giving them energy, you're acknowledging them. So And then as far as my big mama, I don't necessarily have a picture of her, but I have this that was gifted to me from my when my grandmother passed away. When my big mama passed away, we were all able to get different items of her to hold on to, and this was hers. Because we, even though my big mama, I think, is from Tennessee, she lived in Oceanside. All my family is pretty much from Oceanside, and there's a strong Polynesian culture there. So, is this deep though? It's all cowrie shells, you know. So, and I'm sure my big mama had it without even realizing the symbolism of cowrie shells, which represents the womb, actually. All right. So, here we go. So I have this here. Okay, let's see what else. I pulled a card for the week. I like to pull like a card, and this is so deep. This is my first week of getting back on this journey. Set up my altar, and the card I pulled was Sacred Space. Okay, so I thought that was really deep. So I'm gonna have that here, and then we're almost done. And then, so I shared to you who Newt is. This is Bess. Bess is a trip. I'm not too excited about the representation of Bess, but Bess represents creativity. Bess represents the actual, so Bess represents creativity, sensuality, sexuality, the Hara chakra, which is, again, the womb. And so the Hara chakra is the creative space. It's the sexual space. That's where we not only create babies, but we create our ideas and our goals. That's where we keep things moving. With Bess, within the Sacred Women Gateway, when we get to Bess, we call that sacred movement. So that's where we start moving our bodies and dancing and doing womb yoga. But it's not just movement within our bodies, but movement within our lives, keeping it moving. Like not getting stagnant, not getting caught up in heavy thoughts and not getting things done, like breaking that pattern of procrastination. So that's why Bess is here. And I think that's pretty much it. And then I have my essential oil here, my flower essence, and I'll get more into that later on. And then I have my vision board that I made that just represents everything I'm trying to manifest. Rising like the phoenix, living my dreams. I have some yoga poses here. I have a couple of poems about being a mother. All the images here is all about my womb. It's all about the womb. I even have let's see if I can move this. I don't know if you can see all that. But like I have a skeleton of a pelvic bone. I have an egg here that's cracking with potential, and this represents the egg of my child in my ovaries. Just more images of womb healing. A couple of little poems. Here on the left over here is all food. You see all healthy food here. Essential oils that I'm working with. I have a moon cycle that kind of goes around the entire vision board. Each moon phase has particular attributes, like, the two most obvious. The new moon's a time where you want to contemplate and set your intentions. The full moon is when you want to let things go. All right, so there's that reminder. I feel really good about this. This is probably one of my favorite altars I've created. And so what do you do at your altar? This is where you come to meditate, to pray, to breathe, to write it in your journal. And again, I'll share more of that as we go down the lines about what exactly did I do, just to give you some ideas. And again, this whole intention is to bring you into my world as I'm healing my fibroids. So this is the work. This is part of doing the work. There is the eating, there is the yoga, but this is really the nitty gritty when it comes to doing your womb work to heal these fibroids. So this has been kind of a lengthy video, longer than I wanted it to be, but I hope that you found this informative and inspiring in some way. And let's just keep healing those wombs, okay? Peace and love until the next video. Take care.